Hey, Scott from MyGrowthRings.com here once again is in my garage shop, and welcome to Stump Q&A. Stump Q&A, if you don't already know this, is the follow-up to the weekend video, and in this case, the weekend video was on using this adjustable dado blade, the Magna Dado, on my Shopsmith Mark V. The Magna Dado was introduced in the 1950s by the people who originally produced the Shopsmith Mark V. It's a weird device. And I think the comments bore that out. So what we do in this video is we answer your questions, your comments, your cheap shots about what we learned in that video. And I tend to also fill in some blanks that I accidentally leave. This video, though it is coming out on April Fool's Day, has nothing to do with April Fool's Day. Although my son was born on April Fool's Day, which is a whole nother story. Let me say this also up front. I had a lot of questions about stackable dado sets. I even showed a couple of them. I think that topic is too important to just answer here on one of our Stumped Q&A episodes. So I'm going to shoot a video that will air this weekend, and we'll go over what you might consider modern carbide-tipped stackable dado sets, also using those on the Mark V, and we'll get into that detail. The other reason is Stump Q&A videos are only live for 1 week, and then they become private for the channel members. So if you're curious about that, please click on the link up above and you can learn more about that. I want to thank the 57 channel members. Thank you all very much for your support. It's because of the channel memberships that we can even justify doing these midweek videos that only get about that many views. So appreciate you being here. So let's get to the questions and comments. Boris said, given the arc shake profile of the Wobble Dado, does it result in a slightly tapered edge? And I'm making up some words here. Let's take a look at this. We commented how the bottom of this hut is just not going to be flat. It's going to have a little bit of a concave shape to it. But interestingly, it gives very straight sides. Now, how could that be? Well, the reason that is because while I mentioned this blade is not actually sweeping back and forth, it's moving in a perfectly straight line. So that tooth right there is moving in a straight circle. And as a result, that tooth, the one that is the most extreme, is cutting a straight edge. It's weird, I know, but it's absolutely true. You get a nice square edge with an adjustable dado. Everybody has that same thought. I did as well. So yeah, I don't blame you. Oh, also as a channel member, thank you very much. He's the first person to use one of the little emojis. He used a little square drive emoji on his comment. And so I know it's stupid, but that was really exciting to see that somebody actually used that. So appreciate that very much. Old Man Gravely said, does the Shopsmith dado set from the 80s leave a flat bottom or rough bottom? And are there any tricks to using that? What he's talking about is a stackable steel set of blades. It was made by Vermont American, and it does not leave a smooth bottom. The side cutters cut deeper than the chippers in between. Therefore, it leaves two little recessed steps and a raised bottom, and that bottom is pretty rough. So again, we'll talk about that more in the weekend. RF Guy said a carbide stack is so much easier to set up and use, also cleaner cut. Why would anyone still use a Wobble dado? Okay, so that's a fair question and fair assessment of a Wobble dado. I think there's two big reasons why someone might use a Wobble dado. Number one is maybe it's all they can afford. Number two is maybe it's what they have. And the purpose of this channel is to help people use the tools they have. I know it's frustrating as a Shopsmith owner to go into a woodworking store looking for some guidance, some support, some accessories. And when you say, hey, I'm looking for this or that for my bandsaw, well, what brand of bandsaw do you have? That's Shopsmith. You then get this lecture about, oh, it takes so long to change over, blah, blah, blah. And you don't need that from me. And so I will shoot straight, tell you when I like or don't like something, but we're also going to cover the proper use of it. So a Wobble dado is not my preference, but if you have one, they work. So there is that. So Hal said, I frequently adjust the table height to fine tune the depth of cut while using extension tables. What's the most efficient way to adjust and keep everything flat? So what he's talking about is on the Mark V, we can install an extension over here and have it be level with the main table. My extension's currently buried. Let me dig it out. All right, and so the answer to that question, I got a couple of them. First off, I use a stop collar on here, and I have that stop collar adjusted so I can quickly just drop my extension table in, and that is adjusted to the height of my main table when I'm doing a particular cut. So if I'm cutting 1-inch thick stock, I'll adjust that, drop the stop collar, and then I can disassemble the machine and bring it right back to the same setting every time. Remember, you can put those stop collars also on the main table. And so that's one trick. I typically leave the collar installed on this adjustable table, and then I will adjust the main table to it, putting a straight edge across the two. The other important thing to remember is if you don't need the table, then you don't need to align it. I left a comment on another channel, brand new channel, and I forget the name of the channel. I'll put a link in the video description. That's down there. I'll put a link in the video description of this new channel where he was sliding the table tubes between the main table, floating table, and extension table. And he was changing blades and checking saw curves on these different blades. And I commented how you really don't have to install a floating table for every cut. I only put them there if I need them. And one of the reasons to put those tubes there is to stiffen the main table, especially if you're going to be putting edge pressure against the fence, like when you're doing horizontal boring or maybe disc sanding against the fence. Otherwise, I never use those tubes. It's only when I need them that I use them. Gathering Splinters, another channel member, thank you, said you mentioned the stop collar, but you didn't really describe how you're using it. You're right, and that was an error. I put the stop collar at the very top. It just lives there when I don't need it. But when I am dadoing, when I'm molding, and a few other operations, once I have the table set to the height that I want, I drop that stop collar all the way down to the carriage and lock it. That does a couple things for me. It keeps the table from ever going any lower, so it locks it in. It allows me to make a shallower cut by raising the table up. Maybe I'm making a deep dado or something like that. I can make a cut and then I can drop down consistently to that same location. But the main reason I put one there is for safety. I don't ever want this table to drop while I'm doing something like dadoing or molding. I have a friend that lost parts of fingers demonstrating in a Thursday night sawdust session at a Shopsmith store. He didn't know to use that collar and had the table drop while molding. So I don't play with that. That's something I always use. Gathering Splinters also asked a great question about rabbiting with dado blade. We're going to get into that this coming weekend because that absolutely needs to be addressed. And the idea is you make yourself a sacrificial fence and you bury part of your dado blade in that fence. There are people who will set the fence some distance from the blade and pass. Let's imagine I'm cutting this rabbit here, put the board between the dado blade and the fence. I don't do that. It's not safe, and you also get an inaccurate rabbit. Again, we'll go into full detail on that in the weekend video. Kurt said, I have a Shopsmith adjustable stop collar. Oh, an adjustable stop collar. It's far more complex than the stop collar I use. It's actually two parts, and you can tighten the lower half, and then there's a fine thread, and you can adjust that up and down. Wait, you tighten the top half? You tighten the top half, and you adjust it. Anyway, um, as far as using it for safety, yes, it works exactly the same, but you have the advantage of being able to fine tune the depth of cut using that collar. So yeah, that's a great. I think it's a great product. Um, Robert said, "Do you need?" Robert said, "Do you need a special arbor to use on the 510, or really any model of the Mark V, a Craftsman Wobble Dado blade. A special arbor. Well, you do need the Molder Dado arbor, which is a 5/8 inch arbor that's designed specifically for holding a wider blade. There is a 5/8 inch arbor for sawing. You don't want to put a saw blade on the Molder Dado arbor because the arbor's too long and it interferes with your guards and so on. But for dadoing, you do need that arbor. So that will then allow pretty much anybody's dado blade to be run on your Shopsmith. So Larry asked an interesting question. He has a Shopsmith with a Power Pro headstock. That is a digital variable speed headstock. Instead of using the mechanical variable speed, the Reeves pulleys, it's got a motor that's made by Techna tools. They make all kinds of variable speed lathes, and they make that motor that then gets incorporated into the Shopsmith headstock. He was asking about running his dado at a lower speed in order to get more torque, which is what I described on the mechanical headstock. On the Power Pro, it doesn't do that, and you don't need it to do that. The motor is designed specifically to compensate and to send more power if it encounters more load. But then he went on to say, asking, would it help to prevent it from tripping breakers? If you're tripping breakers with your Power Pro headstock, something ain't right. You want to not run on an extension cord. If you do have to use an extension cord, it should be as short as possible and as large a gauge as possible. That's really true of any of your Shopsmith tools, but for sure with the Power Pro. You don't want the power shutting off to that headstock because it has to recalibrate and things when you turn it back on. So I don't know, Larry, if that's your situation, but I'd keep an eye on that. Also, make sure, if you can, to run it off its own dedicated outlet. So if you're running lights and vacuum cleaners, dust collectors, things like that on the same circuit, try to avoid that if you can. N Fox, who is another channel member, asked the question, do you know where I can buy a plastic case for a dado stack? So he saw that and was curious about that. I shared a link to one that can be purchased on Amazon. You can buy them from other companies. I think Grizzly sells one, but they're kind of expensive. I mean, ridiculously expensive. And you're about halfway to the cost of this entire dado stack by buying that. So I would suggest either get yourself a new dado blade that comes with one, or perhaps make one. You can make this out of a piece of plywood with a bottom on it. You can cut the shape out on your scroll saw if you like, and just take a piece of threaded rod, 5/8 inch or 1/2 inch threaded rod, pass it through a hole, put a nut on each side, and then use wing nuts or knobs to hold the blades on when you're storing them. That's my thought on it. Ed and several other people commented on the fact that my sleeve appeared to get awfully close to the dado blade while I was making the last cut in the video. I rewatched the video, and I think that from my vantage point, I wasn't as close as it appeared. You know, I did have a push block, and my arm wasn't directly over the blade, but even so, I think the lesson for all of us to know and to pay attention to is the fact that, you know, it takes a split second for an injury to happen, and we need to be sure that we're practicing safe tool use. So making sure we don't have loose clothes on is a big one. I think back to my days working at Shopsmith, we had to wear a tie, a real tied around my neck tie every single day when we did our demonstrations, and I thought that was insane. So yeah, be careful, be more careful, and I'll keep a close eye on it. Now, one thing I wanted to do, we only use the Magna Dado. I do have another Wobble Dado that we didn't use, and this is the Carbide-Tipped Wobble Dado blade that Shopsmith used to sell. So to wrap up this video, I want to go ahead and make the same cuts. We'll do a cross-cut dado and a width the grain groove with this set. I think it's set to 3/4 or maybe even 13/16. And let's see if this behaves any different or gives a different quality of cut than the Magna Dado did. Well, I don't believe I did this, but I just made that cut and didn't turn the camera on. So my bad. But let's go ahead and take a look at these cuts, see if we can tell the difference between the two. Okay, yeah, we can. There's the Magna Dado, Again, it's got kind of a concaved cut to the bottom. Here is the carbide tip dado, and not only does it have a concave, but it's not even the same depth on this corner and this corner. And look at the raised grooves that it left in the bottom. That's horrible. Cross grain, it's hard to tell the difference between the two cross grain cuts. We got tear out here and lines on the bottom, and we got tear outs there and lines on the bottom. So cross grain dados, neither one of those is very impressive. Grooves, they're okay, but again, not great. I think we can summarize this by saying you can get by with a wobble dado as long as your dados ultimately are hidden. But as soon as you're going to have joinery that's going to be visible, I think you're better off looking at a stackable carbide set. They're not as expensive as they once were, and we'll take a look at those in detail this weekend. In the meantime, make it a great week.